Mr. President, council members, and participants, we are now live.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. We're going to get started now, but before we begin the council session, I will make the following announcement. Due to the continuing threat to public health from the COVID-19 and the Delta variant, City Council is currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make this remote meeting possible. Instructions for how the public may view the meeting and offer public comment are included in the stated meeting notices that was published in the Daily News Enquirer and Legal Intelligencer and can be found on phlcouncil.com. I now note that the hour has officially come. Mr. Decker, can you please call the roll to take attendance, and members that are in attendance, just say a couple of words to make sure that your image is displayed on the screen. Please call the roll, Mr. Decker.
Yes, Mr. President. Councilwoman Bass.
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues, and the viewing public in the city of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Brooks.
Good morning, Council President and colleagues in the city of Philadelphia. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilman Dom.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues, and everyone listening.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues in Philadelphia. Present.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning to the city of sisterly love.
Good morning.
Councilman Green.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the city of Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gim.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilman Heenan.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, Councilman, and I am present.
Good morning.
Councilman Johnson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Prayers go out to all of our children who are suffering trauma from the senseless gun violence taking place here in the city of Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilman Jones.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, viewing public.
Good morning.
Councilman O.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I'm present.
Good morning.
Councilman O'Neill.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Parker.
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues, and good morning, Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Good morning, Council President and colleagues. What a beautiful day today. Enjoy.
Good morning.
Councilman Squilla.
Good morning, Council President and colleagues. Present.
Good morning.
Councilman Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the listening public. A little late, but not too late. Good morning.
All good. Good morning.
Council President Clark.
And good morning to everyone. We have established our quorum, and we're going to get started. So to give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes the Rabbi Solomon Isaacson of the Congregation Beth Solomon. He is here today as the guest of Councilman Johnson. I would ask all members and guests to please bow your head for the invocation.
I would ask everybody to rise, but in this case, that's not necessary. I'd like to thank Councilman Johnson for inviting me to do this. I'm going to say a prayer in Hebrew, and then I will translate into English. Noisin Teshil Amluchim, Mamshul Ansichim, Malchisoy Malchis Kololomim, Apoitzels David Avdoi, Cherev Ru, Noisim Bayom, Derech, Vamayim Azim Nesivu, Yevurech, V'yishmor, V'yintzor, V'yazor, V'roimem, V'gadel, V'nasei, Lamalo, as President of City Council and all the other members. Mishnei, Melech Malchei Amluchim Berachmav, V'chayim, V'yishmorem, V'kol Tzuru V'tziku, V'yugoin V'nezek, Yatzilem, V'yadber Amim Tachtas Ragleim, Yapil Seneim Lifneim, V'chol Asher Yifni Yatzlichi. Melech Malchei Amluchim Berachmav, Yitem Belibom, V'lev Kol Yoitzeim Sureim, Nachmunis, Lasa is Toivo Simuni, V'imbeim, Yemeni Tivusha Yehidu Levetach Vurutzim Goyel V'chein Yerutzain V'noimar Omein. He who grants salvation to kings and dominion, to rulers whose kingdom is a kingdom spanning all eternities, who releases David his servant from the evil sword, who places a road in the sea and a path in the mighty waters. May he bless, safeguard, preserve, help, exalt, make great and extol, and raise high our President of City Council and all the other City Council members. The King who reigns over kings in his mercy, may he sustain them and protect them from every trouble, woe, and injury. May he rescue them. May he gather all the people under their sway and cause their enemies to fall before them. Wherever they turn, may they succeed. The King who reigns over kings in his mercy, may he put into their heart and into the heart of all their counselors and officials compassion to do good with us in their days and in ours. So may it be his will. And let us now say, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, council members. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I'm happy to say this is not the first time that I have done the prayer at City Council, and I'm looking forward to many other times, God willing. And may you all be well, stay safe, and God bless all of you. God bless.
God bless.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you so much for your invitation this morning. We really appreciate you being here. Our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting on Thursday, October 14, 2021, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 14, 2021 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting on Thursday, October 14, 2021 stand approved. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and our journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, there are no requests for leaves of absence today.
Chair thanks the Councilwoman. Thank you very much. And the chair also recognizes Councilwoman Parker for purposes of recognizing the Sunshine Act motion concerning certain legislative matters that may arise during the course of today's session of council and that were not listed on the calendar circulated prior to today's council session.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that any of the following matters, if considered today, be added to the agenda for this session of council and as required by law, subsequently published on an amended agenda after the consideration of those matters. Resolutions authorizing hearings, amendments to bills on first reading, the reconsideration of a bill vetoed by or recalled from the mayor, resolutions taking substantive action to be voted on in this session, a motion to withdraw a bill or resolution that is not on the calendar, and a motion placing a bill or resolution on or returning a bill or resolution from the suspension calendar that is not listed on today's calendar. The purpose of this motion is to provide the public with notice concerning possible actions by council that arose too late to be included on the calendar that was published prior to today's session.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the legislative matters stated by Councilwoman Parker may be added to the agenda for today should those matters arise during the course of this session of council. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. Motion carries. And our next order of business is communications. And the clerk will please read the messages from the mayor and any other communication that he may have in his possession. Mr. Decker, please proceed.
From the mayor to the president and members of the council of the city of Philadelphia, I am transmitting to the consideration of your honorable body a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the model city's urban renewal area identified by house numbers and street addresses as 1604 through 1608, 1610, 1612, 1614, and 1616 Page Street. And a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to 1335 North 8th Street, 1401 North 8th Street, 1402 North 30th Street, 1410, 1421, 1424, 1429, and 1437 North Myrtlewood Street, 1438 Franklin Street, 1440, 1451, 1452, 1457 and 1459 North Myrtlewood Street, 1460 North Hollywood Street, 1463 North Myrtlewood Street, 1500 North Hollywood Street, 1511 North Myrtlewood Street, 2955 North 8th Street, 3003 Redner Street, 3601 Germantown Avenue, and 729 Master Street in the 5th Councilmanic District of the City of Philadelphia. And a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to 1001, 1003, and 1005 West Arizona Street, 1005 West Cumberland Street, 1007, 1009, 1011, 1013, and 1019 West Arizona Street, 1021 West Cumberland Street, 2325, 2335, 2337, 2346, 2347, and 2419 North 10th Street, 2440 North Delhi Street, 2444 North Delhi Street, 924 West York Street, 932 West York Street in the 5th Councilmanic District of the City of Philadelphia, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Sounds like a lot of groundbreakings to come, Councilman Jones. Thank you so much, Mr. Decker. Our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. And by way of a reminder, we are asking that all resolutions, including privileged resolutions, be placed on the final passage calendar for the next session of council, unless they are being referred to committee. In our current remote environment, the procedure will provide the appropriate opportunity to public comment, and I'd like to thank you very much in advance for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, can you please read the titles of the legislation that is being offered today by the members?
Councilwoman Parker offers on behalf of Council President Clark a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the model city's urban renewal area, identified by house numbers and street addresses as 1604 through 1608 Page Street, 1610, 1612, 1614, and 1616 Page Street.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson offers a resolution recognizing, honoring, and congratulating Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Omega Chapter, on its 95th anniversary.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Heenan offers one bill entitled an ordinance establishing parking restrictions for certain commercial vehicles in the vicinity of Tulip Street and Robbins Avenue and Longshore Avenue and New State Road.
Refer to committee.
Councilman Jones offers one bill entitled an ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation on Winfield Avenue from 52nd Street to 54th Street, both sides, 54th Street from Winfield Avenue to Gaynor Road, both sides, George's Lane from Winfield Avenue to Gaynor Road, both sides.
Refer to committee.
Councilman Johnson offers a resolution authorizing the Committee on Public Health and Human Services and the Committee on Children and Youth to conduct joint hearings to investigate the organizational and systemic failures that led to the return of 3 girls to their sexually abusive father.
Today's calendar.
And a resolution urging the U.S. Congress to maintain the proposed $5 billion in funding for gun violence prevention and other community violence interventions in the Build Back Better Act.
And next week's calendar.
Councilman Dom offers one resolution entitled a resolution honoring Stephen K. Klasko upon the occasion of his retirement as President and Chief Executive Officer of Thomas Jefferson University and congratulating him on his many accomplishments.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Thomas offers one resolution entitled a resolution honoring and congratulating Champion of the Week, student athlete Donta Scott on his book, Wired Differently, My School Journey, which helps young student athletes and parents prepare for the recruitment and school selection process.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman O'Neill offers a resolution honoring Counseling or Assistance Services, CORA, for their semi-centennial and their service to the city of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Squilla offers a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2505 Emerald Street located in the 1st Councilmanic District.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman O offers a resolution authorizing council's committees on transportation and public utilities and public safety to hold joint hearings regarding ongoing issues of public safety at SEPTA facilities and aboard SEPTA vehicles.
This week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing Northeast Phila Connecting, a community-based nonprofit organization for piloting a catalytic converter theft prevention program in Northeast Philadelphia.
Mr. Decker, was that just a simple resolution for him, or was it for a hearing?
It wasn't for a hearing, Mr. President.
Next week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered today by the members, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Appreciate that. And there are no reports from committee today. So we will move to our consideration of the calendar. And there being no bills on the first reading calendar, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up resolutions and bills on the second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today. They are numbers 210832, 210833, 210834, 210835, 210836, 210837, 210839, and 210840. All other bills and resolutions are being held, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Before we proceed with the consideration of the public comment, we're going to take a 5, maybe 10-minute break to give our technology professionals an opportunity to connect everyone for a public comment session. So we'll be back shortly. Let's take a brief break.
now live.
Thank you, and good morning again. We are now reconnected, and we're going to proceed with our council session. So now that everyone is connected to the meeting, and before considering the resolutions and bills we have before us today, we will consider public comment. It will go as follows. Public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendars for possible action at a session of council. A speaker on any of those matters must sign up in order to testify. You must call 215-686-3406 by 3 p.m. the day before the session to sign up for public comment. When you call, we will take your name, phone number, the number of the legislative item you are commenting on, and whether you are in support of or against the legislation, and add your name to the list. We will then telephone each person on the list during the council session and invite them to our remote meeting. Under ideal circumstances, they will each have 3 minutes to speak. Today, I think we are just under that threshold, so we're going to do 3 minutes today. So please be concise and get as much testimony that you can in during that time frame. But in order to be fair, all those wishing to speak, I intend to hold faithfully to the established time limit. So once invited to the meeting and asked to begin your testimony, a timer will be started. We will monitor your remaining time throughout your testimony, and when there are 30 seconds remaining to your time, you will be reminded of this. Once your allotted time has passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks, and shortly thereafter, you will be muted and disconnected from the remote meeting. I also reserve the right to limit the number of speakers where repetitious comments are being made on the same subject matter, which could affect callbacks for public comment at the meeting. And also, please be aware that the public meeting is being recorded, and because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. So by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. I want to thank you all very much for your participation. I will now ask Mr. Decker to please call the first name on our list of speakers today.
The first speaker we have today is Sonia Bingham, commenting on 210-840.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sonia Bingham. I am the person who Councilman O is basing the resolution on. Approximately 3 weeks ago, my house was firebombed by bad actors in the Kensington community. First, I'd like to just state that the entire reason why this resolution is even of a subject of topic is because of failed leadership. We, the residents in Kensington, Harrogate area, have been tasked with the responsibility of policing our own communities, which has left us to be targets. The resolution to offer a reward in the amount of $20,000, I do not believe is a big ask. There are many reasons in which I believe that the city and all of the agents that are have the power to enact policy in our community should stand behind it. We are your first layer of leadership within the community. We are an extension of who you are. If you all do not stand behind sending a clear message that this type of act will not be tolerated against leaders in the community, you all are next. It has been proven by the ATVs. It has been proven by the homeless and opioid epidemic, which is now spilling out into the rest of the city. If you all do not stand behind the attacks and saying we will not tolerate this and we will prosecute to the fullest extent of the law and leave no stone unturned and give whatever amount of money to make sure that justice is brought to them, be forewarned. If we are fair game, you are next. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Brooke Feldman, commenting on 210-840.
Good morning. I'll state your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Brooke Feldman, and I am testifying in support of this resolution. I agree with everything that Sonia shared. I enter into the conversation as somebody who, ran the streets of Kensington using drugs. My mom lived and used and died in Kensington also long before it became the crisis that it is today. And I have spent years working with people who currently use drugs in Kensington, trying to support them with making positive changes in their life. And, I think what's really important to get in a short period of time is that it is absolutely unacceptable what happened to Sonia. And when she says that, you're next, it really is accurate that it could happen to anybody. And I think that a point that really has to be pulled out is that I sat in the meetings over the years where the folks who live in Kensington, which I do not, I get to go home and not have to worry about my home being firebombed. But the people who live there have been explicitly asked to police their neighborhood, to kind of get out there and clean up other people's trash, to be able to work with law enforcement, to report, drug sales in a way where retaliation isn't feared and there's actual protection. And I think that what happened with Sonia is an example of just the utter deterioration to the point where what were once at least unspoken norms and the code of the street, so to speak, are gone. And so, what it used to be and what it would be in anyone else's neighborhood is that when someone says, hey, can you please get off my steps? Or even if they say it in a more angry way because it's the 9th time that week they had asked the person or somebody, it shouldn't be a matter of having to worry about whether I'm going to be murdered because I asked somebody to get off of my steps. And I think that, in addition to, there being a message that this is not okay, that this is not part of the code, this is not part of civil society, I support this resolution as much as I am opposed to incarceration. But I think that this needs to become a larger conversation regarding how conditions have deteriorated to the point where we see that it has become okay to do things like this. And what I want to close with is that the timing is pretty relevant, where we see an article from Dr. Eugenia South that was published in the Inquirer regarding research that demonstrates that the environment that we live in has an impact on our well-being and our health, which I think we know, right? But then also she talked about the violence, and that we see increased violence in communities where there is blight, where there is litter, where there's just poor sanitation, where the norms and the codes have broken down. And so it is no surprise that we see violence now picking up. And I think the time to act has long been now, because it will be someone else next, and this is not okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Shannon Farrell, commenting on 210840.
Good morning. I'll state your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony. Good morning.
She's actually not on the line right now. We're going to try to reconnect her.
Okay.
Thank you, Awenda. The next speaker is Stacy Waters, commenting on 210833.
Good morning. I'll state your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stacy Waters of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, speaking support of City Council's resolution on Conflict Resolution Day. The Commission supports the adoption of conflict resolution as a peaceful means to address conflict. As you may know, the Commission employs mediation to resolve complaints filed by those who feel aggrieved. We are all aware that conflict is inevitable. While resolving conflict is vital, conflict in and of itself is normal and even healthy. Different perspectives offer new ideas and fresh approaches to problem solving. While problems go unaddressed, tensions may escalate. Cultural conditioning and societal norms have had a huge impact on how society responds to conflict. Cultural conditioning has resulted in normalizing maladaptive coping methods for some. Maladaptive coping methods include, but are not limited to, verbal altercations and or physical violence. Effective communication, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and empathy are key elements of conflict resolution. Being trauma-informed is also a necessary tool. Becoming trauma-informed involves recognizing that individuals who suffer trauma often pass trauma on to others with whom they interact. For instance, children who witness outbursts may be more likely to bully other children. Hence, being trauma-informed will increase self-awareness and allow for better responses to conflict. In closing, conflict resolution ensures a more harmonious environment, less disruption and dissatisfaction. It enhances relationships in school, personal, and work relationships as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Darlene Burton, commenting on 210840.
Good morning. State your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony.
Yes, my name is Darlene Burton, Burton. My testimony is about the firebombing of a friend's house here in Harrogate. We live in a billion-dollar drug business here in Kensington and Harrogate. It's a very frightening place to live right now, and we don't seem to be getting the resources that we need. In such, regular community members are tasked with trying to keep drug dealers off their blocks, trying to keep the addicts from using on their blocks. And as a community, it's not fair to us as ordinary citizens to have to police our community. My friend Sonia is one such community member. And for her efforts, her house got firebombed. Like someone literally tried to kill my friend and her children. It is very disheartening to me to live in a community where doing the right thing and standing up for justice and the right way of life can in turn get you murdered. I'm not sure what City Council is willing to do to help us in this plight, but we have very active, caring members of this community who try to help change the narrative of this community. And like I said, it's very frightening that if you stand up and you say, no, we don't want you selling drugs on our corner, or no, we don't want you using drugs in front of our children, we in turn are met with violence and sometimes death. So I would just hope that, we would get the resources that this community needs so that the regular residents don't feel as though they have to take on police in their community, because there are resources put in place here that needs to be put in place here actually to help us in our fight to keep the drug dealers off of our blocks, to keep the drug addicts from using in front of our children. So it is my hope that more resources will be poured into this community so the regular citizens don't have to stand in proxy for city officials or the police force that should be actually doing the job for which they get paid to do. So that is my testimony. I hope that it was helpful in drafting this resolution to get this reward offered for my friend's case, and maybe it will offer some movement in someone to come forward so we know who actually tried to kill my friend, because that's what they did. They literally tried to kill her and her family. So, like I said, I hope this helps in some way, but we are very traumatized living in this community as regular citizens. It's just not fair that we are tasked with having to police our blocks just because we don't want our children to walk through drug dealers or walk through drug addicts. So hopefully in some way this resolution will help to catch the people who tried to kill my friend, and we will get more resources in our community. So that's my hope with my testimony.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We really appreciate you being here today.
The next speaker is Marie Patterson, commenting on 210834.
Good morning. State your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony.
Hello, good morning. My name is Marie Patterson. I'm here to make a comment on Resolution 210834. First, I'd like to say thank you to the entire City Council, and special thanks to Councilwoman City Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore. Councilwoman's dedication to our city reminds me of how important being an alumni of Dobbins Career Technical Institution in the city really is. And it's my pleasure to congratulate Siobhan Thompson as our first alumni principal. Principal Thompson's unwavering support to the students, the parents, the faculty, and the community is well appreciated in these difficult times of unrest and violence against our children. Her vision, her experience, her passion, her dedication has earned all of our respect as our leader. I am confident that Principal Thompson will uphold Dobbins' 84-year history of producing top-notch tradesmen and tradeswomen producing top-notch tradesmen and tradeswomen ready to be productive citizens in the city of Philadelphia, ready, willing, and able to also lead us. Lastly, I'd just like to say I'm in full support of the resolution, and I thank you. Thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Amber Heath, commenting on 210834.
Good morning. State your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Amber Heath. I am speaking for the resolution in reference to Siobhan Thompson as the principal of Dobbins. As an alumnus of the school, I graduated with Siobhan. I know that she's a dedicated woman. My son now attends Dobbins, and I see her instilling in good moral values to the kids. Her support for the children, making sure that they are safe in school, worrying about their education, making sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. She's involved with the community, making certain that the children are getting the education that they deserve and need. She's a really caring person, and I'm so proud to say that we have a graduate of Dobbins finally helping Dobbins grow and move on forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Owenda, were we able to connect Shannon Farrell?
No, we left several voicemails, but she didn't answer.
Thank you, Owenda, for trying. Mr. President, there are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
No others? Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Decker. We're going to move on. So, a number of individuals that we were not able to connect with today, unfortunately. So we will move on to our next agenda item. We will consider the bills and resolutions on our second reading and final passage calendar today. So, Mr. Decker, I'm going to ask you to read the title of resolution number 210832.
A resolution honoring and congratulating Dawn Staley for coaching the 2021 Olympic gold medal winning U.S. women's basketball team.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion on this resolution for a person who also went to Dobbins. Councilwoman?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. President. On your behalf, I move the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
I second the adoption.
It is moved and probably second that the resolution be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210833.
A resolution recognizing October 2021 as Conflict Resolution Day.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for a motion.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And before I move for the adoption of the resolution, I just wanted to formally on the record thank the school district for implementing for the first year Tier 1 conflict resolution for every child in the entire school district of Philadelphia. And after meeting with administrators yesterday at a rally with Councilmember Gim, I'll be sure to follow up with additional hearings on this topic to ensure that the Tier 1 conflict resolution is being implemented in every school and being covered by the administration per the agreement we have made. So again, thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210834.
A resolution recognizing and congratulating Siobhan Thompson for her historic appointment as the first alumna principal of the Merle Dobbins Career and Technical Education High School.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson. No motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. On theme in the 5th Council District today, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. Moving probably second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210835.
A resolution honoring and congratulating Kianga Yamada Taylor for being named a 2021 MacArthur Genius Fellow for her innovative scholarship on Black social movements and racial inequality in the United States, and her critical examination of race, exploitation, and redlining in America housing policies and practices.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kim.
Thank you very much, Council President. With great honor, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 210836.
A resolution recognizing and thanking the many faith-based organizations across the city, synagogues, churches, and mosques for their activism and service to the public throughout the pandemic in providing the citizens of Philadelphia with food, personal protective equipment, and COVID-19 testing and vaccinations.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Just before I call for the adoption, I want to take us back, Mr. President, to a little over a year. When we were evacuating City Hall, when we thought we might be gone for a week or two, I remember us waving goodbye to each other, and moving out and locking up. And I remember as the weeks went by, it got worse. And we started shutting down major systems such as religious institutions, synagogues, churches, and mosques because of social distancing issues. We really didn't know how this virus spread and how rapidly it would take hold of our city. But in all of that confusion and fear, mosques, churches, and synagogues stayed the course, kept the faith, began mobilizing PPEs along with City Council. There's not a district or corner of this city where they didn't jumpstart into activism, giving out food, giving out tests when we were eventually able to do shots in arms and still are, were the first line of response to this deadly virus. Sometimes, no matter what religion you have to have faith. When science fails and governments can't figure it out, you have faith. And I'm glad to be in a city where all of those institutions kind of put their differences aside and stepped up to the plate on behalf of the people of Philadelphia. And therefore, I move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, 210837.
A resolution recognizing and congratulating Richard Schutler upon the occasion of his retirement from the Pennsylvania Municipal League after 20 years and even longer dedication to efficient, effective, decent governance across the Commonwealth.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I know Councilmember O'Neill would echo the sentiments of the work that Rick Schutler has done over his years as not just a deputy director, but also executive director of the Pennsylvania Municipal League. and really being a steward for local government. Um, the league, through his leadership, has always stepped up to the fact whenever the General Assembly has tried to take away the powers from local government, and that's something that he's consistently pushed and advocated for as president of the league, even towards in this last year as we've been dealing with the pandemic and still working on issues like Act 111 reform, which is something that's been an issue for a number of cities around the Commonwealth, and trying to work with State Representative Donna Johnson Bullock on that legislation and other types of legislation that impact and help local jurisdictions, enabling them to provide the best quality of life and services for their constituents. With that, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 210-839.
A resolution honoring Angelo Cataldi on the occasion of the announcement of his retirement as co-host of the WIP Morning Show, and for invigorating the passionate fan culture of Philadelphia throughout his illustrious career in Philadelphia sports radio.
And Chair recognizes Councilman Dom for calling for our future co-host of Sports Talk. Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Council President, and we can request that of Angelo Cataldi, absolutely. But really, he's amazing. He gave us such tremendous pride in all of our Philadelphia sports teams throughout his career. And with that, I'd like to move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, 210-830.
A resolution calling on the city of Philadelphia to issue a reward for information leading to an arrest in the arson case which victimized Sonia Brigham, an outspoken anti-drug and anti-violence block captain in the Harrogate section of Northeast Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. First, I'd like to thank Maria Quinones Sanchez, Mark Squilla, two council members who deal with this issue constantly. It is such a difficult issue. And on behalf of all the co-sponsors of this resolution, council members Quinones Sanchez, Squilla, Bass, Gilmore, Richardson, Heenan, Green, Dom, and Gautier, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, does that complete our calendar for today, our introductions? I believe
we have additional resolutions on the final passage calendar that were introduced today, Mr. President.
We're holding 210-205. Just want to make sure. Okay. Do you have any resolution?
I do, Mr. President. A resolution authorizing the Committee on Public Health and Human Services and the Committee on Children and Youth to conduct joint hearings to investigate the organizational and systemic failures that led to the return of 3 girls to the sexually abusive father who resumed the abuse after their return, introduced today by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Yeah, Council President, colleagues, I am going to make a motion to withdraw this resolution. I will be deferring this issue to Councilwoman Cindy Bass and Councilman David O, who chairs the Special Committee on Child Separation to review child separation in Philadelphia's child welfare system and develop recommendations to ensure compliance with state child protective services law to protect children and due process rights of families and prevent the unnecessary breakups of families. My 2 colleagues have been working very diligently on this issue, and so I'm going to defer and withdraw this resolution to them for their leadership so they can continue addressing this very, very seriously and critically issue. And so I'm very disgusted by it, but I look forward to the hard work that they will do to get to the bottom of why these 3 young ladies were returned back to their father, who repeatedly raped them over and over and over and over again. So I know they're up to the job, and I know for a fact that they will do great leadership work around getting to the bottom of this issue. With that being said, I make a motion to withdraw this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is withdrawn. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilman.
And a resolution authorizing council's committees on transportation and public utilities and public safety to hold joint hearings regarding ongoing issues of public safety at SEPTA facilities and aboard SEPTA vehicles. Introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. We have had just such serious issues, from mass shootings, drive-by shootings, while people are just waiting to get the bus, get on the train. Just recently, the terrible rape of a passenger, just shocking. It is beyond comprehension, and I thank Council Member Kenyatta Johnson for his continuous work on gun violence with his special committee, all the things that they are doing, and of course, Councilmember Curtis Jones with his public safety committee. So with their expertise and concern, I move for the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. We're on pace to break a record. That completes our calendar for today. And now we're going to move to speeches, but prior to recognizing members regarding speeches, I will note for the record at the time that we will use the chat feature available on Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized in order to comply with the Sunshine Act. And the chat feature must only be used for this particular purpose. And with that said, are there any speeches on behalf of the majority? And I think I saw Council. No. Sorry.
Oh.
A minority. I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Councilman David O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I'd like to start by just letting the public know that council members do a lot that the public does not see. Council members do a lot. And even though we may look at things differently and we disagree, and many times we agree, council members do a lot that the public does not see. I want to talk about something that is just so troubling to me. Today, at an undisclosed time and undisclosed location, I'm going to meet several mothers whose children were murdered. They testified in court. That's been done. And they were supposed to be relocated. And that has not been done. And they're getting shot at. And one mother has lost 4 children to murder. When the trial is over and witness protection is done with, what is our city doing? And how are we going to have people testify if we do not take care of these people? It is so disturbing. It is so shocking. It is so heartbreaking. I'm going to go meet them. I don't know what to say. But we have to do something. This is just atrocious. And I just thank my colleagues for all the work that you do. And how you interact with the community and the residents, and how you do your best. And I just want to let people know, reach out to your council members. Reach out to them. It's a difficult process, but reach out to your council members and ask for help. And we shall do what we can to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Speeches on behalf of the majority. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kathy Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. And first, I wanted to thank our colleague, Councilmember O, for his work in reaching out to constituents. And as he stated, as members of Philadelphia City Council, we all are doing our very best 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to be responsive to the people we have been elected to serve. And we thank you for all your work and all the work of my colleagues here in this body. But today, Mr. President, I would be remiss not to take a quick point of personal privilege, just to mention a few things. But first, it was the late, great Dr. Maya Angelou who said, "I sustain myself with the love of family." And we know, Mr. President, as Councilmember O stated, being an elected public servant is a very difficult job on the best day of the week. It's a difficult job. So it's the love of family that often sustains us as we traverse doing all that we can 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the people we are elected to serve. So on this day, I wish my husband, my rider, and my driver, David R. Richardson, a very, very happy birthday. Thank you for sustaining me, and thank you for sustaining our family. Thank you, Mr. President, for that point of personal privilege.
Happy birthday.
I know that's right.
Love it, love it. Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Thank you, Council President. This week I attended the opening of Penn Medicine's Pavilion, and being there was a great reminder to me about how fortunate we are to have Penn Medicine, Jefferson, Drexel, Temple, and all the other great medical institutions here in Philadelphia. And I think we should more frequently actually celebrate all the positive things about these institutions and other things in our city. And recently, I don't know if you saw this, but in Philadelphia, we actually moved up 20 notches of the list of best places to retire to in the country. And a lot of it was because of the tremendous health care we offer people. The Penn Medicine Pavilion, it's an amazing facility. Everyone should take a tour. It's the largest capital investment and its largest project in Penn's history at $1.6 billion. The state-of-the-art facility will include advanced operating and emergency rooms, telemedicine infrastructure for remote monitoring and consultations, technology in each of the private patient rooms to strengthen communication among patients, families, and care teams. And it should be no surprise to any of us, though, that Penn is at the forefront of healthcare advancement. The list of Penn Medicine firsts is lengthy, but I will highlight just a few. And I wasn't around when this happened, but Penn Medicine founded the first medical school in the nation. Penn Medicine developed the first X-ray machine. Penn Medicine discovered the first gene linked to cancer and continues to work on all types of cures and treatments through cell therapy, which has made us a leading cancer center in the world, cell therapy. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of Penn's firsts. One of the most significant and relevant projects going on at Penn, and which occurred, was the mRNA research, which we honored in council by Drew Weissman, MD, a professor of infectious diseases, and Caitlin Carico, an adjunct associate professor, that helped pave the way for the development of the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna COVID vaccines. It's only fitting that the nation's first hospital was also integral in this new era in the fight against COVID. The development and distribution of this vaccine at Penn will go down in history as one of the world's most significant biomedical achievements in our lifetime. We should all thank the leadership of the University of Penn, including President Amy Gutmann, who I believe will be moving on to another position, and Penn Medicine's CEO, Kevin Mahoney, and the tremendous doctors, nurses, and staff. I also want to thank the various generous donors who made the dream come alive of Penn Pavilion, as well as the construction team who worked on the project. Penn Medicine is known worldwide as one of the best medical care facilities. We're all so proud of Penn, working as a team to make this happen, and proud that this world-class institution is in Philadelphia. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gibb.
Thank you so much, Council President. So yesterday, more than 24 principals, climate managers, assistant principals came together on North Broad Street to decry the latest shootings that have been going on in our city. The shooting of a 16-year-old Lincoln High School student who's now fighting for their life marks what we understand to be the 35th young person, 18 and younger, shot in the city since the start of school. And it's the fourth shooting that's happened immediately outside of a public school. And this doesn't even include the multiple instances that have been happening within blocks of schools that have been terrifying families and young people all across the city. The announcement by the mayor that the police department will establish school safety zones in 25 areas of the city around 35 public and charter schools deeply impacted by violence was welcomed. But to be clear, it is so long overdue, and there's so much more that needs to be done. For months, educators, young people, families, colleagues here on the council have been ringing the alarm on the urgent need for our city to have a coordinated school-based strategy to protect young people. And it's largely because we need an entity larger than the school district to be doing this. In addition to a police buffer zone, there's a need clearly for safe corridors, partnerships with community groups, organizations, community mentors and leaders that can guarantee that children are safe from the school door to the front door. But this is not just about what happens immediately outside of schools. It's actually a lot about what happens inside of our schools. Council has been a true leader. Thank you so much to Council Member Kenyatta Johnson for emphasizing the trauma and behavioral health supports that have been needed. It's why we've been leading on the effort to put social workers in our schools to ensure that there were nurses and counselors restored back to schools. But things are different now post-pandemic, and our schools are suffering from massive vacancies that are hollowing out services and opportunities for schools to be able to respond not only just every day, but especially in crisis. When the shooting happened outside of Franklin Learning Center, that school did not have a school secretary. It lacked a climate staff. It did not have a school nurse. And even though it served many immigrant communities as one of the few welcoming centers in the school district of Philadelphia, it lacked a Spanish-speaking bilingual counselor. We know that our schools also need trauma and behavioral health services, which are consistently promised to kids, but somehow never seem to make it into young people's lives. And I do want to thank the leadership of Councilmember Quinones Sanchez. Together, we're trying to figure out this IBHS, but we need it to be coordinated with schools. And we've been very clear, as Councilmember Thomas has led on after school and out of school time programs in neighborhoods most impacted by violence. Those young people need guarantees, expansion of slots. We need guaranteed employment for young people in our high schools. We can embrace our children and bring and show them that it's not just policing that keeps them safe, but a community that is offering them investments, opportunities, and opportunities after opportunities. That's a message that we heard from principals, but I also want to make it clear that this effort goes far beyond what the district can do and really requires the city to coordinate broadly amongst schools that are very different. The schools most impacted by violence are a mixture of 25 schools where 50% of the kids that have been harmed or injured by gun violence have last called their place. We don't have to do it everywhere. We do have to do it for these communities, for these young people, and we have to do it now. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. I hate to continue to go down the same road that a lot of my colleagues have already started to go down, but I just have to. I feel obligated. I just want to take a moment to offer my condolences to the family of Khalik Williams. Khalik unfortunately passed away yesterday. This was yet another Simon Gratz student who had who's come victim to gun violence. I'm not going to get into details about the young man or anything like that because everyone I knew had nothing but positive things to say about him. And I heard about the shooting in multiple circles from multiple people. A lot of folks posted on social media, and these are the things that my colleagues are talking about that are just heart wrenching. And I know everyone on our side is doing the best we can, but somehow, some way, it feels like it's not enough. I do appreciate my colleagues, Councilmember Bass, for reaching out to the principal and the administration over at Gratz, as well as our chairs and vice chair of education, Councilmember Sanchez and Councilmember Gim. But at the end of the day, on a certain level, it just becomes frustrating when you have to continue to hear these stories, the impact it has on the teachers, the principals, and the entire school family. And so I just want to offer my condolences, and as well as my support for Principal Dunn at Gratz High School, as well as the entire staff there. I know it's becoming very fatiguing for them as it relates to the emotional side of this, the trauma that they continue to deal with as they've lost a number of students. I understand that it is not easy when it also doesn't get acknowledged. And I think what I wanted to do, if anything today, is just acknowledge that we recognize what's taking place. Let them know that we appreciate them. We appreciate all the educators across the city because we know they're struggling right now. And I think my challenge to my colleagues and I, because we always step up to the plate, is figure out what can we do to support those who are working in our schools, because they feel like they're not being appreciated right now. And I don't know exactly how we hug, thousands of teachers and administrators and other climate staff and things like that. But we have to think of something, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who take care of our children. And the society is only judged based on how we treat our children and our elders. And right now, we all know we have to do better. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Councilman. Very difficult challenge for us all. Here recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. And to all of my colleagues who do this on a daily and nightly basis, I can only echo Member O's comments that you don't hear about a lot of what we go through dealing with this violence, boots on the ground all the time. A young lady who was a Earth Day kid, and what is an Earth Day kid but an urban inner city kid that really took environmental issues to heart, helped me in 2008 clean up Centennial Lake. That lake had refrigerators and tires in it, and she and others of her age went into that lake, cleaned it out. It won a National Restoration Award. Centennial Lake is one of the first man-made lakes built in this country. I say that because she doesn't come from the suburbs. She comes from an inner city street where violence occurred. She used to have the brightest smile, and when she sung her Earth Day songs, her eyes lit up the stage, and she made it through childhood and became a mother. And last week, she was with a friend, went into a corner store, one of those brightly lit, often open stores, where she was confronted by a man who liked her car. And her escort friend that was there was like taken aback, and they decided to leave their order, get out of the store, and go ahead and get in their car. A block away, that same person that confronted them pulled up on a bike, shot into the car, hit Diamond, was her nickname, in the face. She was rushed to the hospital. She is recovering. She is in a Councilman O, a halfway house, because she's afraid to go home. She is in jeopardy of losing her eye. That same eye I told you about that lit up the stage talking about environmental issues. And I rise to talk to you today because this violence is becoming so commonplace, her shooting didn't even make the news. We have to continue to talk about these things, Councilman O and my colleagues, because we don't want it to become so normal that people just say it's another day in Philadelphia. We have to still be upset and appalled and take action about these things every time. We have to answer the bell, step up to the plate, and deal with this. But when it gets to the point where teddy bear memorials, those bunch of dolls and teddy bears that wind up on street corners become so commonplace, and when shootings that are not fatal wind up not even making the news, we have to double down on our efforts to deal with the climate in our city. So thank you, Member O, for meeting with those parents, and whatever we can do to examine the relocation monies that we give to the courts and the district attorney, I'm in. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Not a good note to end our session on today, but it's a note of reality. As we continue to deal with this balanced approach, and when we say balance, we need to have a genuine conversation about all aspects of the balance, both providing resources. We had a really good meeting last night with a group of individuals. I'm not going to say their name because they didn't allow me to do that, but they were a group of individuals, some of who were actually lifers, that had some significant relationships, and we talked about all aspects of it, the mindset of young individuals out here with these issues, and I agree with their approach. I agree with what we did in terms of providing money, first round of announcements for groups, money for organizations, but the balance means that it is genuinely balanced. Some folks out here have made the decision that they no longer want to be a part of a civilized society, such as the person that you just referenced, Councilman, who would shoot indiscriminately in a car. And that balance requires that some people go away. All right, so we really need to start having that real conversation. And I understand it's controversial, but some people need to go away. All right. Now I'm not supposed to talk for us. I'm just feeling all of our pain and the pain of the city of Philadelphia on a continual basis. So I'll leave it with that, because I shouldn't be talking about this on the podium. So with that, I'm going to recognize Councilmember Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Bass, Mr. President.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get that on mine. Councilwoman Bass, I just got it.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, I'm going to be really brief, and thank you, Councilwoman Parker. But, I'm just incredibly disturbed by the news that we just heard from Councilman Jones. And it does send a very strong signal to our communities when these incidents don't even reach the news. But the fact of the matter is that most people know and feel that our city does not feel safe right now. Just last week, I was driving along Chew Avenue in my district, and I encountered, I won't exactly say what it was that I encountered, but I will say this. I called the district captain and I said, what are we going to do about this? Who's in charge in this city? Because it feels as if people can do anything and get away with it. And so one of the things I think that we need to do is I think that we really need to seriously look at what's happening in our schools, because a lot of the violence I think that we see happening on the outside has started within the classroom, within the school, with some sort of internal beef, and it carries out into the neighborhood, and it goes on generationally for a long time. We need to look at and have the school district play a much more stronger role in what's happening with the violence in our community, because a lot of it seems to be, in my opinion, originating from some of our schools. And we just, it's all hands on deck. Everybody's got to be in to finding solutions to the violence that we're seeing. My daughter, 7th grader, 12 years old, told me the other day, there were 3 fights today. And I said, 3 fights today? She said, Mom, there's a fight every day. Every day. And this is totally unacceptable. It shouldn't be. but we have to get in front of this. And I do think, I want to make the point, I know Councilmember Gim spoke about this earlier, but the resources in terms of counseling and just, figuring out a way to deal with some of the violence that's emanating from our schools. You have to call it out. I think we have to really look at that and do something serious about it. So, I just want to thank all of my colleagues. These are, very difficult times. We all take this all very, very seriously, and it hurts our hearts. And I know this. I've talked to my colleagues about it, and I know that it hurts their hearts. And I just really want to thank them for their diligence in this matter. So, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And we'll continue to be a part of the solution. This very challenging issue that we face on a daily basis. So with that, again, thank you. Chair, again, recognizes Councilman Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, October 28th at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, October 28th, 2021 at 10 a.m. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it. Thank you all very much. Please continue to be safe. Thank you all.
Thank you.